Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I'm doing a part two, a follow-up to another show I did about 3 days ago. The title of that show was Bioweapon Blues, and was assessing the death and disability from the toxic jab. So this will be a part two. There's just so much more information. I have a host of videos and slides, and this might be a long one, but it's still going on since the last one. Died Suddenly News on Facebook has just added reams of new stories, new tales from different people. And so I'll read those. But I'm going to play a few videos. I think they're important just to kind of set the tone, just what's going on. And it's really an ongoing criminal act going on. The promoting of these toxic jabs hasn't stopped. So you need to be very, very careful. And I mean, this is a shocking one. This is like what you see inside. People have looked inside of these jabs, and it's just incredible the kind of things that are in some. I don't know if they're all the same, but I think it'll become clear that there's stuff inside of these jabs that don't make any sense.
Bacterians, parasites, and this really is hardcore. This means that the immune system is so overwhelmed that if you've got to clean this, you will not have any time to clean up cancer cells. You will not have any time for all this other stuff. Look at this. It is everywhere. This blood is crawling with so many bacterians and parasites. This is absolutely not normal. This isn't supposed to be this way. Normally the plasma is clean, but as you can see, this is absolutely crawling with all sorts of horribleness. This is not good. If you've got this inside your body, it's a ticking time bomb.
So that was one video from a site that I saw. And like I said in the last talk, you can go to the FLCCC website and look at the anti-COVID shot protocols. Includes ivermectin, a long series of ivermectin, like 4 to 6 weeks is what they recommend, with other anti-inflammatory things. And other people have talked about intermittent fasting as well. I think that if you took the shot, I would definitely get into intermittent fasting. I would get into intermittent fasting if you didn't take the shot. But I think fasting is a way that the body can get into what's known as autophagy or death of certain cells. So fasting is correlated with that. And this will be a video. This is all the injured in one town in Germany. So these videos are starting to come in. I'll play a few more. But this is just one. This was recently, September 21st, 2021. And you can just see all the people either injured or killed by the jab. I think the sad truth is that you're going to see more of that in the future. So that one doesn't have any stuff, but this is from New Zealand. This is another thing in a kind of a downtown area of New Zealand. Let's see if I can find it where there's more. Let's see, I can't find that. Let's do this one. I'll do the COVID bioweapon. This I think is important. Where this guy talks about, he's a doctor. He talks about how there
are two lines in the state code of Utah that make this the perfect jurisdiction to begin our campaign to take back America from the COVID pandemic scare. And while I will not reveal those, because some of our strategy is based on the fact nobody seems to know that these lines exist, so while I won't unpack all of them, I'll give you a little bit of a teaser on the edge. But what we did as I was here in Utah just the last 2 days is we filed in federal court Griner v. Biden.
Oh, you say Biden? We're talking about
that is the big guy.
The big guy.
And so in federal court, we have actually sued President Biden. We've sued the director of HHS. We've sued the Medicare and Medicaid directors, the CMS mandate directors, and we've sued them in federal court. And what we've done in that lawsuit is something that's really, really critical. And by the way, this is the tease into Utah law. When you use a term like vaccination, the public thinks that means I'm getting something that is going to stop me from getting sick or keep me from transmitting that sickness. That's cunningly what vaccination means. And it's actually defined in the statute as exactly that. It's actually the ability to put something into the body that stimulates the immune system. It turns out that the mRNA that's being injected into people is not that. In fact, specifically what it does is it takes a little computer-simulated strand of mRNA, it sends it into the body, and the body becomes a biological weapons factory. It manufactures spike proteins. Right. The injection does not stimulate any immunity. It actually is the instructions to make a scheduled pathogen. And the scheduled pathogen is defined under 3 different parts of the code. But it specifically includes genetic sequences derived from, are you ready for this? SARS coronavirus. That's actually a scheduled known toxin on the scheduled list of biological weapons in the United States Code. So tiny little bad news is when I say the injection makes you into a bioweapons factory, I'm actually literally taking that straight out of the code. Yeah. It turns out that's not what vaccination was about.
Right, so that's one. I'm going to also show right now the one from New Zealand. This is in a downtown area of New Zealand where they're listing all the vaccine injured. So you can watch this. We can just see all of them. They're either dead, myocarditis, injured. That's Queenstown Waterfront, New Zealand. Just listing all the people who got COVID. I mean, like I said, this is a lot of this is just, it's an incredible flood of injuries and suffering. This is an incredible video that I'm going to bring up where somebody literally died the same day, like a day or two before this was shot, and they never mentioned it to somebody taking the new shot. Somebody went in and asked about the dangers of the shot, and this is a terrible story. So this is the woman on the right.
COVID shots here?
We do.
This is Canada.
We don't do walk-ins. It's an appointment. Yeah.
Okay.
If you want, I can give you our QR code and you can sign up for it.
I have a question
Yeah.
regarding the safety of it. Have you had any issues recently with anybody?
Yeah, I mean, like, there is a possibility for side effects.
Like what kind of side effects?
Sore arm, yeah, fever, that kind of thing.
Okay. I heard that somebody died here 2 days ago.
No, we're
Right
not
after
commenting on that.
Why? Like
we're
if
not
I
commenting.
want to get a shot, shouldn't I know these things first?
We're not commenting on that. That's what my manager says.
But when you have to get a medicine, don't you have to let people know that?
That's
The
a
dangers of
patient
it?
privacy issue. I'm not allowed to inform you on that issue.
Okay, I'm gonna hold off because I heard somebody died. So
Somebody did die there, so it's just an incredible video. They don't even mention it. So this is like a huge bio murder industrial complex. It's just an incredible stuff. And they're still lying. I mean, I'll show this in the slides when I bring up the slides that just this week they're looking for jabs, telling people to get this shot that was literally tested on 8 mice. And they're putting it through in this emergency protocol because the emergency is still in effect, even though other studies have indicated that there's 99% seropositivity in people, which means if that study is true, everybody's already been exposed. So you don't need to walk around with a mask. You don't need to do anything. So we're in kind of a dystopia. Like it's not coming. We're there. So I'm going to play some Fauci kind of moving the goalpost. This guy's a monster. He's a total liar. He's very evil. And I'll show you some other stuff in the slides. I'm surprised they haven't marched him out of the offices yet after what he's done. Just unbelievable.
It turns out, I'm one of them. I know you're one of them. A lot of people who got vaccinated got COVID anyway. And a lot of people who got vaccinated transmitted the disease to other people as well. And I'm wondering if, as you look back at it, and admittedly, hindsight's 2020, do you have any regrets about the salesmanship used to convince people to get vaccinated? In other words, did you oversell them? Did you give people the sense that if they get vaccinated, they're sort of in the clear, when in fact, quite clearly, that has not been the case?
Yes, he did.
Well, as you say retrospectively, Steve, certainly if you look back now, there has been understandably a misunderstanding about what a vaccine can do. The one thing that has been crystal clear, that the differences in severity of disease and death and hospitalization between vaccinated and unvaccinated people is profound.
Yeah, it is profound. They found out that the vaccinated are more sensitive to disease than the unvaccinated. And they just did a study out of Johns Hopkins that said the vaccine is 98 times, up to 98 times more dangerous than getting COVID.
People is profound. The likelihood of getting into a severe situation leading to hospitalization and deaths in an unvaccinated person is multi-fold higher than in a vaccinated person.
Complete lie.
Yet, there is a perception that vaccine will prevent you against infection, and that isn't the case. It does.
And you can go back now. They're probably trying to get rid of all the evidence, and I'm going to show some videos of these guys saying you're 100% safe if you get the vaccine. Different people. I mean, so they're moving the goalpost. These guys they're incredible for all the suffering they've caused. Tens of millions of injuries in the U.S. alone.
Somewhat prevent you from getting infected, but not nearly as well as it does to prevent you from getting severe disease.
Yeah, total monster. Complete monster. So let's just get him like completely lying. Let's see. Let's do liars on TV.
You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. Vaccines prevent getting infected, prevent getting.
I mean, these are direct contravening statements. This guy's a total liar. It's a total joke. I just cannot believe he's employed.
Sick, prevent your hospitalization.
Our data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick, and that it's not just in the clinical trials, but it's also in real-world data.
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else.
You're okay. You're not going to get COVID.
It's unbelievable. And this is even before they rolled out the booster. So they didn't tell you that you're going to be boosted until you're dead, but they're doing it now. So let's see. Here's another one. This is the guy who says, what does he say? He says, you have to get, if you don't get your shot, you have what does he say? Like a summer of death and disability or something like that. This is off the charts. Let's see. I think this is the one.
Well, it's my rights and my parents' terror.
You've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin. And your refusal has cost all of us.
People who are incubators for every variant to come, walking around lawfully unvaccinated? That's psychotic.
For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death.
This is the czar. This is Jeffrey Zients, Zients. He is the czar of the entire COVID, and this is unbelievable. Let's see if I can play that again.
To come.
This is on the White House
around lawfully unvaccinated? That's psychotic.
For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm.
About this, in a world of threats and tyrants, terror, you know what our biggest enemy is in America? Our fellow Americans.
They are the ones that are propagating this outbreak.
Being frustrated that there is still a percentage of the population who are not vaccinated.
I wish that he would go further to restrict the activities of the unvaccinated.
Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo? Rest in peace, Wheezy.
At 25% can cause.
We're going to find out later. Like, I think ivermectin helped in 92% of cases. So this was all propaganda. This is very well thought out. There's a lot, and we'll bring up some names who are involved in behavioral modification, behavioral science. I'm not going as far as saying MK Ultra, but they definitely thought out how to propagandize people. So people were heavily propagandized, and they were not. These mandates are forced. It's a forced shot. If you go after somebody's job, it's forced. So I think a lot of these guys are going to walk it back and go, "Hey, you had a choice. Hey, you had a choice." Yet no, a lot of these people didn't have a choice.
A lot of damage, and they are.
If you're willing to walk among us unvaccinated, you are an enemy.
Well, you know, it's my right.
And I mean, I'll go into this later, but you're going to have a new kind of class, unintentional, but the unvaccinated are going to be in a different class than the people who took, or people who didn't take the shot, as opposed to people who took the shot. And then the people who knew not to take the shot. That's going to be the most interesting play out as we go forward over the next years, is who got the memo not to take the shot. Because not everybody got the memo. And it certainly seems like there's an inequality in class and wealth and fame, people who are suffering and dying. And some people, like, you almost see it, the entire political class seems to be untouched. I can't think of anybody in any political office who has either had an overt serious disability or death. Not one. I can't. Somebody send that to me. And people are sending me stuff now. Since I published this last one 3 days ago, people are sending me their stories. So they're not putting it on social media either. And I'm going to read some of those stories. So we're getting to that. This is the recent HHS statement. Let me see if I can pull that up. This is incredible. This is on me going yesterday. That's yesterday. Okay. So this is happening right now as we speak. They're still pushing these dangerous toxic substances. Let's go to, and then there's this weird ad about myocarditis that's out here in children that's never happened before. But this is an important one here.
And everybody under 30, and in other places, everybody under 40. The young people in many parts of Europe, and everybody under 30, and in other places, everybody under 40. The tragedy that we're now learning that there's significant heart damage, 31% of people having physical activity restrictions. The Seattle study, that 63% of children after myocarditis had evidence of heart swelling months down the road on MRI. So we were playing with fire. We didn't know what we were dealing with. They undercounted the complication rate, making the vaccine look safer than it really was, overcounting cases in young people and hospitalizations, making the COVID infection look more dangerous than it really was. And the tragedy is that we could have saved children from myocarditis. We could have protected this nation's children from myocarditis. We could have spaced out the vaccine instead of that narrow 3-week interval. No vaccine's given 3 weeks apart, and the myocarditis happens after the second dose. We could have let parents say, you know, if you only feel comfortable with 1 dose, it's okay to stop there. Instead, we had put a gun to their head saying you got to come back in 3 weeks, and if you don't agree, you're in deep trouble. And we could have been honest about the risk. In healthy children, that risk is so low, it's lower than the risk of the vaccine.
It's shocking. If your child has heart damage at the age of 14, how is she going to do at 50? I mean, no one seems to be thinking about the future. You have, though, and we're grateful for it. Dr. Marty McCary, Johns Hopkins. Much appreciated. Thanks.
All right. So, there's questions about everybody. there's something going on. Here's another one. This woman is just full propaganda TV. Great news, 100% effectivity.
Well, what's really excellent is, and it's a statistic that I think should be shouted from the rooftops, is that after 12 days from the first vaccination of the AstraZeneca vaccine, you are 100% effective against hospitalization and death. So, you know, those are the statistics we need to be hearing. And yes,
Why haven't we heard that before?
well, here I am. I mean, that is an excellent statistic, and I think it's one that does need to be shouted about, but it's one that's only just been released. You know, we only have some of the data available to us, but certainly even the 70% effectiveness is a very good statistic. It makes it highly effective.
Highly effective, yeah, safe and effective. Wow. So here's I mean, you want to talk about fascism, and this is coming out that these guys are in contact, and there's going to be more information as some of these lawsuits continue. But Fauci's clearly talking with Zuckerberg. I mean, this is
has
fascism.
access to the public face of that Facebook would see. I think it were 3 conversations that I had back and forth with him about promoting the use of vaccinations as a public health intervention. Like I have had over a period of time, and I'd have to check the dates, Senator. Honestly, I'd have to get the correct dates. That Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook had contacted me to make some Facebook Live discussions about encouraging people to get vaccinated and how we can make sure that people understand the importance of vaccination. So there has been, and that's public record. I think anybody who has access to the public face of that Facebook would see. I think it were 3 conversations that I had back and forth with him about promoting the use of vaccinations as a public health intervention. Like I have had over a period of time.
One of the things that's rich about Zuckerberg is there was an internal leak of him talking about the suspicions of this shot. He was saying, we don't know what the consequences of the mRNA shot is. It's experiment. And they've changed the term. They actually used to call the mRNA therapy, gene therapy, but they deliberately changed it into the word vaccine. But Mark Zuckerberg was telling his own internal employees their suspicions, and then he censored all the information for the bozos who are on Facebook. So it's unbelievable. Like the duplicity and double play. And that's another thing. Like not just politicians don't seem to be dying, but I haven't heard of any very wealthy person kicking the bucket from either or getting injured from either the vaccine or the virus. And I mean, we'll get into it on the slides too. There seems to be this huge cancellation in music shows. So a lot of people are canceling their tours and things. It's very suspicious, very odd. They should be touring now after the pandemic. So there's a lot of questions about the health of a lot of these people. I think it's important. And I think this next one is this guy's Michael Leiden, I think is his name. And I think during his inquiry with Reiner Fullmesh, there was a world kind of Congress or a grand jury into the vaccine headed by this guy from Germany. Leiden was involved, and they found out in the stats of that the shots were there was different lethality of the batches. So if you took the shot, you can look up your batch. I think it's How Bad Is My Batch online and see if your batch was one of the nasty ones. And then you have to ask, fine, we'll see a slide later that'll peel the skin off your face. Should scare the living daylights out of you after thinking. And we'll get to that. But the fact that there were different batches indicated to Leiden that there was an experiment within the experiment is the way he termed it. But we're going to hear him. And this really goes back to my theme. Hell is empty and the devils are all here. And so we'll get this right
now. The clinical trials were fraudulent. There are court cases ongoing right now. The manufacturing was fraudulent. They didn't do the production R&D required. It would take at least 2 years to do that. That means the regulatory authorizations were fraudulent. So FDA and CDC, the European Medicines Agency, the MHRA in Britain, they've all behaved fraudulently, pretty much by closing their eyes and just rubber stamping it. So they've not been tested, they're not safe, they don't work, they could never have worked in the elderly, and yet they are toxic. And then I talked at length, and I won't bore you with it again, that the very design of them could not have been more dangerous. They picked the only part of this purported pathogen, the spike protein, to express in your bodies. Your bodies are turned into a spike protein factory, and spike proteins are definitely acutely toxic in loads of different ways. Autoimmunity, blood clots, neurological problems, impacts on fertility, and so on. So I've told you that they've created the impression of a scare. They've smashed the economy and civil society using useless measures. They've got you to wait for a rushed so-called vaccine that was not shown to be effective or safe, that never could have worked, even if the original setup about a viral threat was correct. And yet they've jabbed, I don't know, 4 billion, 6 billion poor souls. Something like 1 in 1,000 people have died. We don't know how many more will die. But we're into double figures of millions who've definitely been killed as a consequence of this policy. And that tells you that the people who are doing this are ruthless, I'd say diabolical. We're beyond good and wrong and right, okay? We're in the good versus evil. I've not been a religious person, but I'm absolutely clear in my mind the only people, the kind of planning and thinking it takes to have done what has happened are people who would worship Satan. They're not normal people. I couldn't do one part of this and continue to be alive after I've done it.
So yeah, let's go to the slides. Hell is empty. The devils are all here. This week. This is either 1 or 2 days ago. This is another evil monster. Her name is Rochelle Walensky. She is getting her updated COVID-19 vaccine. It's not a vaccine. Tested on 8 mice. They rushed it through. Even Fauci has come out and said we had to do it under the emergency circumstances, considering that there's 99% seropositivity. Somebody's lying. I'm going to opt at this point that Fauci and this witch is lying. I would literally go to like my local witch, my local Wiccan witch, and go to her cauldron that had like bat wings and wings of, snake scales, and fill a syringe up with that, then take whatever these people are doing. And it's interesting too. I was looking at this picture. I don't see the syringe. There's like some prep going on, but I really want to see these people take the shot. I really do. That didn't happen in this pic. So this is this week. Laboratory data suggests these updated vaccines increase protection currently circulating variants. And this is the whole thing. They always have pushed the vaccine. It's never your natural immunity or anything like that. And they're putting it every 2 months. It's incredible. That's what they're promoting. These are demons, man. These are some of the most evil people. These are some of the most, I said this last time, most evil people on earth since World War II and the Nazis. It's a biomedical fascist complex. Here's the one for the kids. HHS, get your child the best protection against severe illness, emergency room visits, and COVID hospitalization. Everyone 6 months or older. So they're giving it to infants. It is so sick. This is murder, man. You're watching flat out murder. And these kids are going to get myocarditis. Even 1 in 10. Like, I've listened to McCullough. Like, I put these doctors in the show notes if you haven't heard of McCullough, Corey, some of these good guys that are out there. But it's just unnecessary. These guys the young kids were never at risk. It's just incredible to watch. So this is HHS captured. They might as well be like freaking the Nazi party. And then this is really fascinating too, because Biden, he's obviously brain half dead. Maybe 3/4 of his brain is gone, or his thinking is gone. So, and I do think that this sea of injury and death from the shot is tied into the stolen election. I think it's part of it, because that means that you just have kind of a criminal class that is unhinged to the electorate. And I expect this next election to be totally skeezed out and criminal as well. But this was interesting because, and it's interesting about the power dynamic between Biden and Fauci. So Biden says, oh yeah, the pandemic is over. And Fauci steps in and contradicts him. It's really incredible. He says, we're not where we need to be. Speaking with 60 Minutes, the president said in unequivocal terms, the pandemic is no more. The pandemic is over. And then Fauci steps in. So once, and you want to talk about the money, once that statement was made, investors wiped more than $10 billion off the market value of the main COVID-19 quote vaccine unquote makers on Monday after U.S. President Joe Biden said the pandemic. And you want to, that's just a huge amount of money. So there's massive amounts of money at stake. You now have to keep pushing all these toxic shots for the cash. You're in an incredible criminal act right in front of your face. There's no doubt about it. Robert Redfield, former director of Centers for Disease Control, said the lab leak explanation for is supported by evidence. The death threat started. He has been deemed a conspiracy theorist. Whenever they call you a conspiracy theorist, you won. People call me a conspiracy theorist. I always take that as a badge of honor. Nothing I've really ever done on my books and stuff like that. They're all backed up by evidence. This is like a death panel from V for Vendetta or something like that. COVID-19 response press briefing. This clown on the bottom right was like, you have two arms. One is for the COVID-19 shot and the other is for your seasonal flu shot. Like, never take a flu shot. Never take any shot. I wouldn't take any shots. I mean, I generally don't give recommendations, but I would never take. You don't even know what's in there. They're such liars. They wouldn't even tell you. They would just give some fake. Everything's fake. Almost all of their documentation is fake, but these are monsters from Fauci, Walensky. Becerra is on that. I mean, it's incredible. I think he's the head of the HHS. He's a lawyer. He doesn't know. He's never been trained. He's a party functionary. Like, if you ever want to like watch a communist state and they have their party hack sit in on certain things, that's what Becerra is, in my opinion. There she is. Vaccinated people do not carry the virus. They're actually getting sick as heck. Dr. Fauci, this is August 3rd, 2022. If you aren't up to date on COVID vaccines and boosters, you're going to get into trouble. So he's continuing to warn. 5th booster. So they're going to boost you till you're dead. And then this was an old one from, I think, Canada News. Like, if you're unvaccinated, should you get jail time, denied health care, no penalty? And this is another real winner. This is Pfizer's. This is 19th of September, 2022. Their shots expired, but hey, we're just going to extend the deadline to December, January. It's so crazy. Like, how they just don't have any integrity. It's unbelievable. So they just like do their own thing. And then they're going to boost here, and I'm in California, California. They're still pushing this whole shot, the shot culture. Not these young kids are super healthy too. They're like in their 18s, 20s. Almost nobody's ever written. I mean, they've been sick, but they've never had. I can't even in my own circle or heard of anybody ending up in the hospital or anything over this. So this is just pure evil and injury and death. And also the blood products right now are not going to distinguish between people who got the shot and who didn't. And the people who got the shot, their bodies are, I don't know how long it goes on, but that protein is circulating. And then they literally erased a statement from the CDC website, and they took off the mRNA and the spike protein do not last long in the body. Our cells break down mRNA from these vaccines and get rid of it within a few days. They got rid of it. They just took it off. It's unbelievable. Not much, just like editing. Memory hold it, 1984 style. And then Hawley's grilling a Facebook executive. He's coordinating with the Biden administration to censor constitutionally protected speech. That's fascism. I mean, the consequences, like I've said this before, and the last one was, the consequences weren't something where it's a political thing. This has health consequences for people, serious consequences through this censorship. That's why you don't have censorship. That's why you have the Bill of Rights. So these tech companies are all evil. It's a total joke. They're just totally monstrous. I need to destroy my Facebook page again. This is Peter McCullough getting censored. Over 50 Biden administration employees, 12 U.S. agencies involved in social media censorship push, according to documents. This is Thomas Renz. Pfizer and Moderna have admitted in federal filings that their mRNA injections are gene therapy. It's definitely not a vaccine and many side effects. So they lied about everything. They lied about it. It's not. It should never be called vaccine. You have to win the war of language first. So this is gene therapy. It's a shot. It's lethal. It's not safe or effective. And it's happening. And Steve Kirsch is another guy. I'll put a link to him. He's done really good work. But it's happening in Israel too. There's all this weird lying and censorship and inappropriate stuff. And this is Kim.com. Quote, this is the quintessential evidence about the origin of COVID-19 provided to the U.S. Senate last week by a former top executive of Echo Health. His evidence shows that the U.S. government funded the creation of COVID-19 at the Wuhan lab in China. The evidence reads like a biological thriller. Insanely dangerous research with deadly viruses genetically modified for increased potency and enhanced transmission to humans. And when the virus got into the human population, a massive cover-up from both the U.S. and Chinese government. 6.5 million people died and counting, not to mention those killed or seriously damaged by the vaccines, while the U.S. pharma made over $500 billion and counting. It's just a huge number, $500 billion. That's a lot of cover-up. This is the biggest crime against humanity in the 21st century, and the U.S. government seems to have funded this global pandemic. What is the world going to do? What's the remedy? Trillions in damages? Who's going to hold the U.S. accountable based on this damning evidence? What's the venue for justice? Surely the U.S. government cannot be trusted to investigate itself. It's really true. It won't come out that the real, in my opinion, the real investigations will not come from Washington, D.C. It'll come from the state governments, the non-corrupt state governments. I couldn't remember the guy who was involved in the suit that got information released about Naomi Wolf, but I remember it now. It's Missouri, and Schmidt was the attorney AG there. So all these states are really going to be the ones getting this information. It's not going to come from it's too corrupt. The U.S. government's too corrupt in D.C. There might be little things here and there, but who's holding the U.S. government accomplices accountable? The mainstream media for their paid COVID propaganda, big tech for their COVID censorship, big pharma for injecting untested and unsafe shots into billions of people while securing total government immunity against damages. It's time that the world holds the U.S. government accountable for all its malicious activity around the world. The EU must stop participating in the proxy war, U.S. proxy war in Ukraine, and listen to its citizens. They want peace. The world must stop accepting U.S. hegemony and U.S. dollar dominance. Well, the U.S. dollar dominance is going to be over pretty soon. So. Yeah, and if you're on TV, you're your own worst enemy. I mean, I don't understand why people even watch TV or even comment on it. It's garbage. Garbage in, garbage out. This is a 13-year-old girl who died after the vax. And Jab Injuries Australia is a really good resource on Instagram, and people sharing their stories. This is not just died suddenly news on Facebook, which will eventually be censored. I'm sure it will. But the Jab Injuries Australia, they're showing pictures. So there's this, pretty woman with her hair, all her hair, and that's where she is now. So let that sink in. Elias Theodorou, 1988, September 11th, 2022, dead. Took 2 shots. These guys are usually the healthiest people on earth, MMA fighters. But irrefutable proof that mRNA vaccines cause vascular and organ damage. This is from, I think it was from the Epoch Times. And this was censored on my Facebook page. So here's another slide. This guy's just wondering what is going on in Albany, Washington. They just made at least 9 new rows at the cemetery here. I've driven past here for 8 years and never seen them planning this far in advance. So it's just the cemeteries are piling up. At least in Albany, Washington. And this was interesting. I think this is either from the World Economic Forum or something from Davos or something, maybe some Switzerland. I can't remember where this is from, but they're looking at this whole social, behavioral mechanism. And I think that's an important component of this whole event that people might be overlooking, which is how they manipulated everybody to do this. how the massive propaganda and where they found the kind of fulcrum points to leverage people into this fear, their job, care for other people. Some people took it because they thought they were doing a favor for their parents or whatever. Like, oh, I got to take this because I don't want to get my parents sick or my children sick or whatever. So it says COVID-19 was a test of social responsibility. A huge number of unimaginable restrictions for public health were accepted by billions of citizens across the world. There were numerous examples globally of maintaining social distancing, wearing masks, mass vaccinations, and acceptance of contract tracing applications for public health, which demonstrated the core of individual social responsibility. This is just a list of all the young kids who've been dying of heart attacks. And that's really what's scary about the shots, is that it gives you subclinical myocarditis, so you don't get diagnosed, but you have 25% of your heart's damaged and you don't know it, or these people don't know it, and then they engage in high intensity exercise and catastrophic consequences. Yeah, the largest Milgram experiment ever conducted. Well said, yeah. And then here's Naomi Wolf. I mentioned her last time in her book. War Against the Human was part of the title. Article admits Bill Gates was part of a global conspiracy to push the COVID vaccine. So I do have a couple videos for Bill Gates. Let's see. This is him. Somebody screaming at him.
Crimes Against Humanity, Nuremberg 2 is happening. OpenSource.com, we have all the research. Have fun defending yourself in front of court of law.
Crimes Against Humanity, Nuremberg 2. Nuremberg 2 was trending on Twitter, so people were definitely using that hashtag. DJ, wonder what happens to the jab in 10 years. I'm going to actually mention that. Nobody really knows. 5 and 10 years out. Don't know. Don't know. So, I mean, it's scary. I mean, if it was me, if I took the jab, I would do the FLCC protocol to a T. I would take all that stuff, pine needle tea, ivermectin, vitamin C, anything super healthy, anti-inflammatory. I would just be hammering that. Politico, how Bill Gates and partners use their clout to control the global COVID response with little oversight. Well said. So you have these non-governmental organizations, just manipulating everybody. It's really something else. And Bill Gates, he's not even an elected official, giving advice on everything. So here's one from the hashtag Nuremberg 2. Families were severed, suicide spiked, addiction skyrocketed, businesses failed, careers were lost, adverse effects surged, cancer screenings were canceled, children were traumatized, and millions were dehumanized and segregated. CDC, meh, those guidelines don't matter now. They literally just switched and changed the whole goalpost. It's unbelievable. This is McCullough saying that the S protein structure, too many segments similar to human proteins. It means people were tampering with it. More will come out in lawsuit. And the emergency declaration, that has to be ended. They're just going to manipulate this whole emergency. It's just really something else. This is Fauci's tie to Evergrande. Evergrande, a company with close ties to the Chinese Communist Party, donated $150 million to Harvard Medical School. Days after the donation, Harvard-linked experts suddenly changed their position, condemning the lab leak idea. Wow, so that's like evidence of a cover-up. Bill Gates ordered the president of the United States twice not to investigate the ill effects of his mRNA injections because he knew they killed unnamed people. He's responsible for millions of deaths, infertility, and injuries around the world. It's pretty intense. Oh, and here's where he says the final solution. This is really incredible. Where's this? Where's the final solution? Oh, Gates' final solution.
To limiting the damage. What innovation are you talking about? What's the number one priority? What do we have to innovate first?
Well, in the near term, it's the scaling up of testing and prioritizing who gets testing and getting the quick results. In the midterm, it's these treatments that can cut the death rate down potentially dramatically. And then the final solution, which is a year to 2 years off, is the vaccines.
He literally says the final solution is the vaccines.
That
Wow.
can cut the death rate down.
This probably is like an internal joke for him or something.
Dramatically. And then the final solution, which is a year to 2 years off, is the vaccine. So we've got
And he has that whole like old guy. He always has that sweater with a collared shirt. Hell is empty. The devils are all here, man. Another monster. Ivermectin reduces COVID death risk by 92%. Peer-reviewed study finds September 3rd, 2022. And then it's Corey's book, The War Against Ivermectin. I'll put a link into the show notes for that. So you can look into that. So there's not like there's a lot of other doctors out there who are looking into stuff, pathologists, epidemiologists, who have been trying to kind of ramp up. Oh, yeah. Nighttime, I got to tell you guys, nighttime, these shows that are supposedly entertainment or comedy shows, they're the most effective propaganda shows out there. They're worse and more effective at solidifying ideas in the population, I think, than even TV news. I think I can win that argument because people are tired. They think the laughter's there. It influences them. They think they're together with the host. So there's this kind of feeling like, oh yeah, we're all together laughing at these people. I think it's much more powerful and much more, it has a deeper effect than even the news. Because you're laughing like, oh, they're so bad. Oh, these anti-vaxxers, they're so stupid. Yeah, he's creepy. He's definitely creepy, Carl. COVID vaccine destroys natural immunity. NEJM study shows 12th of September, 2022. And then this is Jacinda Ardern. Back in the day, 2021, she said, when the New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern was asked by a reporter if she was creating two classes of people, the vaccinated and unvaccinated, Ardern confirmed, stating, yes, that's what it is. Yep. So they were definitely parsing the society between two different things, and who wanted to not be in that one group of the unvaccinated. And then the passports, and then she just flipped. She literally just flipped. It's up to you to do whatever you want. So they just changed the full goalposts. And then UK bans COVID-19 shots for children under 17. That's smart. Already posted that. And then it's really how many people have died. There's different numbers. This is McCullough. If protocols by McCullough, AAPS, FLCCC, and other organizations were the national standard instead of the NIH do not treat early guideline, doctors Navarro and Hatfield estimate 500,000 would have been saved. My estimate is closer to 667. Suppression of early RX, was it drugs or whatever, a true mass crime. Yeah, it really is. It's a mass crime. And that's why these people are monsters. They pushed this vaccine as the only way out. It's almost like a sales job. I worked with a lot of sales. I was a sales support guy. And that's what you do. You shape people to have only one outcome. This software is the best. This is your outcome. This is the way you got to do this. Whether you're even selling cars or refrigerators, this is the right one. And I think that that's what they did with this. It's a vaccine. You don't have any other, and they destroyed any other kind of stuff. And then the monster Fauci came in and said, yeah, I'm the science. It's clearly, there's obviously different views. This is an interesting post too. Somebody writes, domestic oil is the new ivermectin. You can't have it because it would resolve the crisis they need you to go through. And that's very true. People are in the hands of monsters. Literal demon people. People are dying, don't ask, don't tell. Dr. Murray, quote, the excess mortality data, miscarriage data, and dropping birth rates are accumulating from numerous places around the world, all data timed in relation to rollouts, Dr. Corey. It is an unmitigated humanitarian catastrophe that is being systematically censored. Yeah, so it's being censored. And like two-faced liars like Zuckerberg. Like I said, he told his own employees, hey, there's real questions about this mRNA thing, and then censored it for the idiots who are on Facebook. I'm destroying my Facebook page. I don't know if I can. Just social media is such a joke. It's just such a joke. This will not be on YouTube either. I know it's streaming on YouTube. I will take this down. Most of my shows, there's a lot of other shows that aren't on YouTube that you can listen to at CDC Investigates on iTunes, Podcast Addict, Spotify. They're originally hosted on Spotify. So YouTube is involved in censorship too. So all these corporations you use are facilitating this death, this mass murder. I mean, I don't think you can think about it any other way. Dr. Urso, today the FDA approved bivalent BA booster because of an unspecified emergency. The booster was tested on, drumroll, 8 mice. That's it. It will be given to millions of people next week. This is not gallows humor. It's just gallows. September 1st, 2022. No, it's not. You can find it on my Patreon. That'll be it. This is from the CDC website, September 1st, 2022. COVID-19 vaccines are safe for children ages 6 months to 5 years. No, they're not. This is your government. A new CDC MMRWR finds. Among the over 1 million children given the shot that really doesn't prevent you from death and you don't even need anyway, reports of serious adverse events were very mild, very rare. Most side effects were considered mild or moderate. No reports of myocarditis. Not yet. You don't even want to hear the reports, so what do you care? This is like the Paranoia Toronto Star. If an unvaccinated person catches it from someone who's vaccinated, boohoo, too bad. I have no empathy left for the willfully unvaccinated. Let them die. I honestly don't care if they die from COVID, not even a little bit. Unvaccinated patients do not deserve ICU beds. This is the front page of the Toronto Star, August 26, 2021. Wow. And then here's the stories. These are people sending me stuff. As for the carrot, I work at a hospital in Scotland. People in my department have been decimated. The hospital lost a young Christian doctor who was under 40. I have the news reports for proof. As for my department, these are the diseases that have appeared in the last 500 days. About 100 people. One guy's blood cancer. 2 guys were hospitalized with a coof after taking the carrots. One guy thinks he has blood clots, but they couldn't find anything. Yeah, microclots do not show up on CT scans. One guy almost died from myocarditis. He got blue lighted to an ICE at a bigger hospital. He was told he had a genetic problem with his heart. One woman has liver kidney disease. One guy KO'd, then fell down the stairs, breaking his collarbone. He hasn't been back in a year. One guy dropped dead last Christmas. He was on the phone to his ex and told her he had sharp chest pains. Then he died. 5 people came down with bad cases of COVID after the booster. That's all I can think of. It's a train wreck. I feel like the only person seeing what is happening. Not many of them are linking the outburst of disease with you know what. Next, my daughter who's 14, her best friend's dad died in his sleep after the second one. My neighbor's mom died in her sleep after the first one. My daughter's teacher died at 47 after the second one. My uncle went blind after the first one, then passed shortly after. Friday at my daughter's high school, a child had a heart attack. Most of the people in my area have done this, and I assume it was someone who did. I never knew any child growing up or as an adult through the 80s through 2020 that had a heart attack. I found out my oldest son had one of the baby shampoo brands, and I'm scared for him. He's been very depressed since. My other son's girlfriend is pregnant, and she got 2 of them. I hate this. Next. Recently received word that a beautiful friend had passed. My one liberal friend who just agreed to disagree and kept on loving me as a friend. She developed a rare pancreatic cancer that was so aggressive that it was 59 days from diagnosis to the day her husband and daughter lost her. I do not know how many she took, but know that she would have jumped to do her part. We lost 3 in one family within 2 weeks to hospital protocol. These were people my family had been close to for 25 years. And that's what I'm learning. These hospital protocols are killing people. Rob Skiba, Russ Dizdar. I'm investigating those 2 deaths. These are 2 people kind of in the Christian community. I worked with Russ a little bit back in the day. And apparently they were murdered by the hospital protocol. I thought they had died of COVID. See, that's the misinformation that's out there too. Like it just through the grapevine, I just said, oh, they must have died from COVID. But I started talking to people and they're like, no, they were thrown in jail and given these protocols and died. And then you had Alex Stein's mom, who I know Alex Stein a little bit, and Don Jeffrey's brother, who I know a little bit. They died from remdesivir. My vaccine injured daughter had a coworker's desk moved next to her who had 4. My daughter, whose regular clockwork, started bleeding and didn't stop for 42 days. Didn't tell me until it was almost over. Got her in a detox bath ASAP. Yeah, that's a good idea. Detox bath. Next, this will be my first and last post. I'm compelled to share what I've seen because of my proximity Countless people going to the ER with diverse body pains that can only be blood clots. A friend's daughter with fallopian tube clot shortly after the poison. Another friend's parents both dying of cardiac and neural-related problems within 6 months. A friend's daughter with myocarditis or peri. Doctors denied it was because of the height of the fall epidemic. God granted me a reprieve when they approved my religious exemption, but from what I've read, they will soon incorporate the genonator in the regular accepted perennials to get the rest of us. Next, in New York City, Mayor Adams is getting rid of the mandate for private workers, but will keep it for government workers. They want government gone. They don't have any money to pay people, and when they refuse to build infrastructure, which we need badly, which would grow the economy and put people back to work after the austerity of the pandemic, they also want Depop. Next, in one of the Polish groups, a woman wrote that she had a terrible pain in her hand since eating a peanut. After eating peanut, she was taken to the hospital. This woman writes that she has now tried to do an MRI 3 times. Each time she felt excruciating pain, and the examination had to be stopped. Magnetic resonance. Next, my sister passed on April 6, 2022. She was diagnosed with pre-cervical cancer in early 2019. She had a complete hysterectomy, and they also removed surrounding tissue and found no cancer cells had invaded the surrounding tissue. Later that year, her oncologist advised her and her husband to take the strawberry. Over the next 2 years, she had numerous rounds of chemo and surgery to fight the invading cancer cells. In early 2022, her body could not withstand any additional rounds of chemo, and she decided only to take palliative care. The cancer had returned with a vengeance in her liver, lungs, spleen, and throughout her chest and lymph nodes. Her poor body suffered so much, but she put her trust in traditional medicine. Why can't people see what is happening? Next. Hello, got the PIN last August, and 9 days after fell at work and was told by my boss to quit faking and get back to work. Lost complete feeling in both legs and feet, developed tremors in my right hand. Then in October of the same year, while I was at the office, I started to lose my speech and eyesight and was rushed to the ER thinking I was having a stroke. Turned out to be a TIA, a transemic something attack. After 8 hours of waiting due to the thinking I was faking due to the jab, I was out of work from August to February of this year and was able to go back as light office duty. As of now, my legs still don't function properly, and if I'm not better by December, I'll be fired. I was forced to take the jab or lose my job. See, it's forced. My boss won't acknowledge that. I was hurt and thinks it was an underlying issue and I'm faking it. 13 years Army still in and 8 years at my current job. Both require me to be physically fit, and now I still have a hard time walking and nowhere near as active as I used to be. My mind is foggy and I forget people now. I'm only 33 and I'm worried my life won't be able to get back to how it used to be. Next, one of my clients, an elderly man in his early 80s, had cancer. And he was doing pretty well, but soon as the release of the you-know-what in the arm, he died 2 weeks later. His last words to his wife, which didn't take it, and his entire family didn't want him to take it, were, quote, "I just wanted to live," unquote. That's why he took it. He wanted to live, and he thought it was the best thing to do. Next. 23-year-old female colleague collapsed at work today, facial drooping and very high blood pressure. Not sure of her status, but considering people were paid here to get the blank, she probably did. But that's all I could think about while helping her. Next. I've been reading these posts for a long time, such sadness. I have a friend who decided to eat carrots 2 times. Told me he hadn't, but now this is what is happening. I suspect he's eaten yet another. Pain in lower back, pain in left leg, and can only shuffle along, not walking properly at all. Pain and swelling in left ankle, bruises which are unexplained. Hunch over and has lost weight. Pain in ribs and hurts to breathe. Had a stroke recently since the carrots and now has speech problems. He has had scans, MRI twice, x-rays, blood tests, and the doctors can find nothing wrong with him. He spends most of his time in bed. Tells me when younger, he injured his ankle playing sport and also had broken ribs. It seems old injuries are now a problem, ? He has no strength and now talks very softly. Has anyone had or know of similar experience? He has just turned 67. He looks 87. Next. Hello to all. And here in my company, as soon as the chocolates are out, they all rush to get some. Since I don't like chocolate, nobody understood my choice. A colleague's dad took it 3 times and he had a stroke that was fatal to him after the fall of a ladder. About 60 years old, very athletic. He has sadly passed away. My colleague's mom also took it 3 times because doctors said it would protect her for her heart. As a result, she also fell down the stairs and it was over for her. Finally, a 3rd colleague, her mother had cancer. The doctors told her again that it was to protect her since she died. Now my brother 2 times chocolates, and he had a heart attack, severe breathing difficulties. Finally, another friend who makes fun of people who don't like chocolate. He has had several strokes and heart surgery. Not to mention a friend who took 2 chocolates. She got sick, then had a fatal fall. And a father of my son-in-law who had a fatal motorcycle accident, and it never ends. They all had too much chocolate. Next. My coworker's 19-year-old daughter had the first pineapple and immediately had a heart attack, was rushed to hospital and survived. Time rolls by and he says to me, quote, "My daughter is getting her second pineapple," unquote. I asked why after having a heart attack the first time. He says, quote, "Well, it's still safer getting the pineapple than catching quack, and the doctor says they will monitor afterwards," unquote. I kept a poker face but was screaming inside. I told myself don't ask how she was afterwards, and we have never talked about the topic since. Next. 1. Teacher passed 1 week after pie. 2. Young high schooler now has psychotic episodes. 3. Coworker got myocarditis after first pie. 4. A girl came into hospital unconscious, ended up double amputee. She was due days pie. 5. A coworker in another hospital has neurological pain, headaches, etc. They could never find any reason for. She knew it was from pie, thought she was going to die. 6. A coworker got transverse myelitis and had knee replacement and got multiple blood clots after her pie. 7. An RN admitted to more headaches since her pie. 8. A guy said he had a rash for 1 year since the day after his pie. 9. A friend got shingles 20 minutes after her pie. 10. A 65-year-old massive uterine bleeding the night after each pie. 11. A coworker got pie and had surgery and almost died and now is passed out cold 2 times. 12. A friend got the Bieber 3 weeks after his pie. 13. Another hospital coworker got the worst bout of colitis ever the day after her pie. When asked if she thought it was because of the pie, she said no, it would be worse if she didn't get the pie. 14. A doctor thinks he, quote, made a mistake, unquote, in taking his and having chest pains. 15. Cardiologists and surgeons are taking prophylactic pills that a famous doctor at Baylor, Scott and White speaks about. Very big names. Neighbor believed in it because her dad was a scientist. Her and her sister both got pie, then got more pie together again. Sister got breast cancer. Then both sisters got interstitial cystitis. And my neighbor got cold 5 times since pie. Then she got shingles. They are not believers in pie ever again. Next. My brother, 33 years old, healthy and fit, never gets sick even as a kid and is always working out, ate 2 apples last year around March. He was diagnosed earlier this month with pericarditis and has some fluid in his heart as well as 1 lung. Only thing he felt after eating the apples was a headache and fever for 2 days. Now he has a very abnormal EKG. His lab work is all messed up. His C-reactive protein, which shows inflammation, is over 100. Now he's on treatment for 3 months and has on and off days. I feel so worried for him, and I can only imagine the pain and agony so many of you are going through, whether that is yourself or someone you care about that has been affected. I pray for healing for all and truth to shine in dark places so we can get out of this nightmare. The only way out is by standing together true. Next. A 29-year-old friend of mine from church got his on a Tuesday. Went back to the doctor on Wednesday with a severe headache, dead on Friday. Official cause of death was sinus infection. Next, a loved one of mine, 68 years old, is the sole caretaker of a very sick husband. I'm pretty sure she did the dance and likely was scared into it because she's the sole caretaker of her husband and for his sake did the dance. She now has cancer. It is lymphoma behind her eyes. She looks as if she has been punched in both eyes. It is so pathetic to look at her. Radiation and chemo slated to start for her. She still has to take care of her husband, and now she has to do it while fighting cancer behind her eyes. I fear for her and her husband. Next. I'm so thankful to be added to this group. I'm praying for all of us and our loved ones. I posted yesterday when my request was accepted, but was something by Facebook, so I deleted it. I'm going to try again. Here's my revised post. So you know, these horrific, sad things are happening here where I live in Gulfport, Mississippi, too. About 6 months ago, my daughter-in-law's sister's fiance's mother is an assistant vice president of a well-known bank, and one of her employees, a lady in her 30s, healthy, had a mini stroke after the first you-know-what, and had another mini stroke after the second you-know-what, and then after the third you-know-what, had a full-blown stroke and passed right in the bank. No news coverage whatsoever. The poor lady literally did not think after each of the first 2 you-know-whats that it was connected, in which I'm sure she was told it wasn't. Just so sad. The bank was not and is not requiring the you-know-what. The poor lady only got the you-know-whats for prevention. Currently, while I was shopping at a Walmart a few weeks ago, I was talking to a 25-year-old worker helping me to find an item, and we got to talking about the you-know-what. The worker told me that his 25-year-old girlfriend just passed right after getting the you-know-what, and said her family she was told she didn't pass from the you-know-what, and that she passed from what she was trying to prevent. Just unbelievable. Close calls. About a year ago, my own 17-year-old cousin was applying to get into college and was told the you-know-what was required. He got it and almost passed. He went into ICU the same day he got the you-know-what with heart complications. He thankfully survived, but has to take meds to help his heart still. About 3 months ago, a friend of mine who works in a nursing home had a stroke after getting the you-know-what. She was in the hospital for like 2 weeks. She is required to get the you-know-what to continue employment. I hope she does not get any more you-know-whats. Next. Situation in South Africa. 32.6 fully blanked. More than 60% have not received the blank. The government is destroying billions of rands of blanks as there is no uptake and it is expiring. My husband works for an international company, and in the beginning it was pushed, but nothing mandatory. Most employees said we will do weekly testing out of pocket, but we are not taking it, but it did not come to that. We also stress that it is a trial and are prepared to go to court. The government also did not go as far as to make it law. What is now evident from our experience that the colleagues that succumb to pressure are now being diagnosed with cancer, blood pressure, shingles, and diabetes. There's not a month that goes by when someone dies suddenly over the weekend. One lady last week went for gallbladder and then died because of pancreatitis and liver failure. Strokes are numerous, but because employees have good medical, the golden hour that is crucial for treatment is reached. People bounce back well. University students were forced to take the blank, so many of them died suddenly with heart attack. Many developed myocarditis. A friend wanted to attend son's wedding in USA, developed multiple myeloma, bone cancer. Busy with treatment, couldn't attend wedding. Next, found out a client of mine who survived multiple myeloma and started getting jabberdoodles, even though their oncologist was against it, but the rest of the team of doctors was for it, died end of August. New crazy aggressive cancer, jabberdoodles to death, less than 4 months. Started with the C, then every 2 weeks added normal ones. I am disgusted with the entire system. Next, hi from New Zealand. I just checked with my aunt who's in her 70s and had at least 2 breadsticks last year and maybe more since. Following the first, she developed what was thought to be shingles and no treatments worked. Later told she had Grover's disease. Today she tells me she still has this, but is a little better. On top has had severe asthma attacks that put her back out, but she says she couldn't have been worse. She could have had COVID, which is she hasn't had, watching too much news. Next, I'm almost in tears reading your stories. I personally have 2 granddaughters, as you say, ate the cookies. The oldest one made the decision on her own. So far, all is well. Only 1 cookie. She finally listened to her dad, my son, who hasn't, to my knowledge, eaten anymore. However, my second granddaughter, only 17, begged her stepmom to please let her eat the cookie. Hours after, was in the emergency room with seizures and loss of feeling in her legs and arms. The thing is, my daughter and her former spouse are totally against such things. After their son was diagnosed with autism, apparently steps for consent to bioparents doesn't matter. I have dear friends and family who ate the cookies. One is excited for all he can get. I'm a 66-year-old woman whose mom never pushed for cookies, nor did I for my own of any kind. My thoughts and prayers go out to those affected. The perfect storm is now affecting my son, who's told no rehabilitation if no cookies are given. Stage 4 cancer of his pancreas. He's also restricted to even see her small son because of an upkick in COVID. I'm angry for the loss of time and those I love. I'm angry for all the mistreatment from others during this mess. Still, it goes on. God bless you all. Next. My sister is an RN. They mandated that she wear a blue shirt. She wore it and immediately had a seizure. She wore the second shirt and has had seizures so bad now that she's permanently disabled. Never had health problems before. They were perfectly healthy, normal BMI 35-year-old who had a brain bleed and stroke after the second shirt. Never had health problems before. My mom has worn 2 shirts and is having fainting spells. Never had health problems before. My friend had a kidney transplant. She was doing wonderfully. Never had a problem. Her doctor told her not to wear a blue shirt. She wore 2 shirts anyway and rejected her kidney. Now has cancer. 3 friends from high school have died within the last 2 months. All shirt wearers, all strokes. Update to this original post. My dear friend died last night, September 20th, 2022. at 2 a.m., 68 years old. Hardest working man ever. 4 months ago, working on my trucks and having conversations like we always did. Now he's gone just like that. Unbelievable. And they said it was dementia. 4 months ago, you couldn't hardly get a word in. Bubba had the gift of gab. Rest in peace, friend. Months ago, my mechanic was working on my truck. Today, he's in a hospice with rapid vascular dementia. I've never heard of this. Feeding tube inserted last week. I've known him for 35 years. He has no clue who I am. He doesn't know his son. He used to talk your ear off. Hasn't said a word in over a month. 4 months ago, he was the hardest working 68-year-old you'd ever meet. Now basically a skeleton. He can't walk or feed himself. Doctors claim he had a stroke a year ago and didn't know it. He's now having strokes on a regular basis, 1 or more a week. Very strange, so very sad. Next, my daughter was 18 at the time. I did my best to talk her out of it, but she did it anyway. She had eczema as a child, but grew out of it around age 4. It's back with a vengeance since the stuff. She was allergic to dog hair as a child, but grew out of that too. She's studying to be a veterinary nurse and had to spend a week on a farm with horses. She never had allergies to horses. In fact, around the time she was allergic to dogs, she had regular horse riding lessons. While on the farm, she had a major reaction to horsehair. She FaceTimed me and I watched the redness spread down her neck and arms. I thought she was going into anaphylactic shock right in front of me. Her cycle went crazy after the stuff, even though she was regular before. I think she is infertile now. She has constant blocked and bloody nose. She has a growth in her ear canal, and doctor doesn't know what it is. Has anyone heard of this? I have a sister, early 50s, with unexplained issues. Doctors don't know what caused it. I have a 22-year-old niece with ovary issues, possibly cysts, constantly vomiting and passing out. Her brother, my 15-year-old nephew, heart issues. Doctor says he went pale in school at age 4 or 5, so must have had heart problems since then. All these issues posted the stuff. Pictures are of my daughter with redness on her face before starting spreading, eczema on arm, and weird red marks on her hand. Next, my heart is screaming for all of you today, and for myself. Well, the sister-in-law is having her bone scan today to see how far the stage 4 kidney cancer that wasn't there 6 months ago has spread. Half the world is still in denial. I already know the answer to the question that keeps repeating in my head. Why wouldn't they listen? But I can't stop hearing it. Peace be with you, everybody. Next. Mentally stressed right now. My BFF was found in car yesterday at 11 a.m. He's in the hospital. Think he had a stroke. I don't know if he did or not. He had 2. Heartbreaking. That's it. They are taking me to say goodbye. OMG. Finally saw him and he's paralyzed on left, stroke on right, no brain surgery. They also found a hole in his heart. That can wait. He was able to communicate with me. Can't talk or swallow. We watched football. Now he understands. I asked him who was going to win, and he pointed to the TV screen. He held my hand. I told him me and our dog were coming to live and take care of him. He laughed. Long road ahead. They keep telling me he'll never be the same again and probably live in a nursing home. He's only 60. Thank you, everyone, for all the love and support. Prayers. Next. Hi, a friend of mine ate 2 hot dogs. A short time after, he developed a blood clots. He was put on anticoagulants and worked for about a year. His son had exactly the same issue. Last week, he had a stroke. Since the first one, a cascade of clots has formed every day, followed by a mini stroke. Nothing seems to work. Son was laughing when I mentioned the shots. My father took the bait after giving a flu shot a few months prior to that, 100% certain it caused his stroke. He never had any kind of shot in his life. So then 3 months after he's been giving the shot, he was starting to feel rough on day 3, soldiering on through in the most gracious way. And by 30 days later, we lost him. My mom's had 1 and 2, my brother 2 plus something on top, plus other families such as the sister and some of her children. I wasn't allowed to speak out about it. Even though the authorities were coming to do the shots on the children, the whole thing freaks me out. I recently worked in NHS, and I've heard a couple of stories, too, in the ambulance from these patients I helped move. Fit, athletic guy in 40s with lymphoma only a few months after his shot. Then after all the chemo, he has a big femoral clot right before his discharge, a survivor. Another guy, 40s, took the shot so he could travel, developed leukemia. Quite soon afterwards, he was battling through. Many patients and most just asleep to it. Many fed up at taking so many and don't see the point now. In a year's time, hospitals will be tipping over. The business of health, the ministry of health. Next, My daughter's eyesight is getting worse and worse after the second she took. She states she is not getting any more. And now she is complaining of chest pain and having a hard time breathing. She is my baby, 22, and she wouldn't listen to me. She called me her mother, who would never steer her towards danger, a crazy conspiracy theorist nutbag. Wouldn't speak to me for almost an entire year because I wouldn't follow the experts or the science and get it. Along with my 36-year-old son and his girlfriend, who told me they are far more intelligent than I will ever be, who also stung my grandchildren, 10 and 6 years old, 3 times. The first time, my granddaughter was 5 years old. She turned 6 a few months later. She had bloody noses all summer. Made me wonder, how could they do this to their children with no solid info? Next. It's hitting kidneys really hard, and livers. Well, let's face it, all organs. So many with kidney stones and big ones requiring surgery. I've also known 2 alcoholics who were okay health-wise. Then after the cupcake, not sure how many, they died. One was 37 and the other in her early 60s. I feel like people deteriorate quickly, and whatever was ailing them before goes into overdrive times 100,000. Praying for everybody. Next. My 32-year-old niece passed out on the floor October 11th last year and died of a heart attack. I helped my sister raise her. 6 weeks later, my friend's 44-year-old son took a nap and died in his sleep. Their sister-in-law, who was a first responder, had to have gallbladder surgery. She was healing fine, took a nap, died in her sleep. My friend's 20-year-old niece just died in March. No reasoning. Everyone is making excuses for the wise to make themselves feel safe. I'm getting ready to drive to the Northwest for my niece's memorial service. I'm dreading listening to everyone talk about how proud they are that they'd help COVID be over because they did the right thing and got all the jaxes. How can they not see this? I can't talk to many people about this. It's so painful to watch. I'm so sad and furious. Next. I personally caught something in January 2020, a strange but mild head chest cold. 6 weeks later, I was re-exposed to it and began the long-haul journey. In early 2021, the Canadian government couldn't hide us any longer and had discovered our Facebook group and reached out to the owner of it. They still hadn't admitted we existed, but needed us and our symptoms to try to convince others to get the jab. So in July 2021, the Canadian government acknowledged the COVID long haul. In the meantime, they were plastering our Facebook group with info claiming that the jab might improve the COVID long haul condition. This didn't ring true or make sense to me. My body was already dealing with post-COVID. Why would I further stress it by adding the jab? So I didn't. In one of the few post-COVID long haulers, I'm one of the few post-COVID long haulers who still hasn't been stung by the jab. I'm also one of the few who's gradually and slowly but steadily improving. I barely visit that Facebook group anymore because it's so sad to watch so many people to get worse with each jab and yet be unaware of the correlation. I've also watched most of the younger people I know fall for the Canadian government fairy tale about the jab. 20-year-old female, 3 times for sure, maybe a 4th, has developed worsening vascular infarction after each jab. Now is on meds for vasculitis. 28-year-old male, 2 jabs so his 4-year-old son could play hockey and have at least 1 jab. Parent to be able to attend. He has dealt with heart pain and issues ever since. He has also had a cold since the second jab a year ago. 153-year-old male, my neighbor, physically fit, massive heart attack a few days after his wife got her first jab. Another neighbor, 49-year-old male, 2 jabs followed by open heart surgery for blockages, says he hasn't felt good since second jab. His second jab had to have a full hysterectomy last fall. The boyfriend has seen workmates dropping like flies. One sudden death, 53-year-old fitness fanatic, and multiple guys who have had to take early retirement due to newly onset heart problems. That's not all of them, but it's the ones that come immediately to mind. Next, from another page, makes you wonder. A very good friend of mine passed away yesterday from a heart attack. He was 36, so young. He lives in Brazil, where it looks like the cupcake or the cake is very popular. Update, I just got confirmation from his wife that he did get the cake for work. My favorite auntie, didn't take her Wheaties, thank God, but my daughter, cousin went to her auntie's house and some way came back already having her Wheaties. This was the last year sometime. I'm not happy because I've been telling my family not to eat no darn Wheaties. My auntie is very religious and has spiritual discernment, but people say she's kind of fanatical. Her son took it as well. Her granddaughter that took it now has chest pain at 14 years old and no prior health issues. She also has postural orthostatic tachycardia called POTS. She's fainting and falling now. My aunt is distressed. I talked with her and gave it to her straight about what I'm seeing and know from my experience in healthcare. Her son that took it is her only child. The granddaughter that took it already has a deceased mother. This is so bad. And that auntie that took my cousin to get the Wheaties I was saying she really needs to be confronted, like seriously, physically confronted. Also, my aunt and her son are going to have to cover all these doctor bills associated with the injured child. As I understand it, these Wheaties just wear you down until you die, basically. My auntie had one son. He ate his Wheaties. One of his 4 daughters took her Wheaties. My auntie is very hurt, and so am I. Next, pretty sure my daughter's piano teacher's husband that was just diagnosed with stomach cancer is from the cherries. He's only maybe 28 years old or so, and he just had a baby a month ago. It's very sad. He's waiting to see what stage of cancer he has. If it's bad, they're talking about taking out his stomach. He's starting chemo immediately. Next, a lifelong friend gave her husband, who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, oatmeal. She had one bowl herself. She believed the oatmeal would be good for him, and she loved him, and as his caregiver, she ate it too. He had difficulty with memory, but he loved the outdoors, and they both spent much time outside. Days after eating the oatmeal, he began to fall. His falls increased over the next 2 weeks. It came to a point where he was in his recliner, and his wife could not get him to move or respond. Home health came in and immediately put him in hospice. His health deteriorated quickly, and even with medication, his final days were in great pain. He passed away. His wife told me she was going through paperwork a few months later and realized he passed away 1 month from eating the oatmeal. She understands now. She herself says she does not feel the same since ingesting it also. Next, SAL blood clots in her lungs, seems to be doing okay. Friend got tumors and fibroids on her uterus and ovaries, had a hysterectomy. Employer's husband in hospital with something that appears to be Guillain-Barré syndrome. Early 60s, now using a walker, little use of one arm. Friend age 55 diagnosed with breast cancer in July. Daughter's 16-year-old friend had been diagnosed with a condition where your extremities are always cold. I've seen this one discussed before, and I know she's had the pudding. Customer said she started having heart palpitations in the last few months. Another customer said in the last 6 months, he's developed rheumatoid arthritis. These are the ones I can think of at the moment. Next. My brother was in the hospital a couple weeks ago with heart pain, and they said likely pericarditis. He's 34 with no previous conditions, double stamped. Just got a call today that my dad, late 60s, had a heart attack on a cruise ship in Alaska. They're metaplaning him back to Canada as he needs open heart surgery and needs his aortic valve replaced. No previous heart or blood pressure conditions. Triple stamped. Please say a prayer. Next, my daughter's friend died suddenly of a heart attack. He was a healthy 36-year-old man with no history of heart problems. He had 2 cherries plus 1 cherry recently. I just could keep reading. Next, 2 of my son's friends got the jab. One passed out an hour later, and one cannot get out of bed. They are only 16. Please pray for that they come out of it, USA. There's just so many stories. I can't read them all. My niece is an RN. She got the first after the second, had an awful time, so much pain in her lungs, hurt for 12 hours. Then she was fine. She said she's going back for the next one. I told her she shouldn't. How will she know it won't be worse? She said it was only 12 hours of misery. She got it and was much worse. She almost went to the ER, but made it through. So far, so good. She said no more. Had one back in October 2021. Not dead, but permanently disabled and bedridden with several severe illnesses from it. Myocarditis, pericarditis, costochondritis, POTS, mast cell activation syndrome, autoimmune positive, extremely high inflammation markers, organs inflamed, blood work is all over the place, lactic acidosis, hypovolemia, vertigo, tremors, chronic fatigue syndrome, vomiting, looking at possible pulmonary arterial hypertension. My life is basically over. I'm in constant pain and can hardly move. I try to warn everyone I know. I've had no improvement. Next, thank you for the invite and ad. 48-year-old healthy male, got the quack December 2021, ended up with a hospital stay for 6 weeks. They talked him into having a banana before he even left the hospital, had a second banana. 2 weeks ago, he had a heart attack. All arteries were perfectly clean except for 4 blood clots in the widowmaker. Now he has a stent and on blood thinners, alive for now. My best friend of 30 years is gone forever. He promised me he wouldn't get another. sheep. After his second in March, he started having anaphylactic reactions. I told him after being alive for 40 years and never having what it changed, he acknowledged that the sheep was the only thing new. He promised me he wouldn't get another one. He freaking promised. He was my best friend. I'm so sad, lost, sad, and angry. Losing my sister and now him a few months apart. He went last Friday and got a booster. Saturday, he died from brain aneurysm walking across his yard. F the government, F the mainstream media and doctors. I'm broken and lost. Next, my daughter-in-law's father got the first two, and theme he started to have heart problems when his health was very good before the juice. 2 weeks ago, he had some strokes and now is struggling with memory and dexterity issues. Next, my dad had 2 juices and his diabetes went insane, up to 600 one moment and 53 the next morning. It took several days to control it. Then my parents continued on and got 2 follow-up juices. His diabetes once again skyrocketed to over 600. He was weak and seemed to forget how to walk. And a few more morning readings of 53 blood sugar. No one listens. I'm not respecting science. Lord help us. My stepfather has had 3 junkers and has since had a heart attack and now has galloping diabetes, and his color is off and he's lost a ton of weight. He's also getting blood blisters that lop on top of his skin. Has anyone experienced or know of anyone that has experienced something like this? Do you think that this is a result of the junkers? Doctors say it's his meds. I'm from Quebec, Canada. My son, 18, got the jab 2 times and now he has a heart problem, always sleepy. I did not approve this. I'm really scared to lose him. I pray every day. Next, my dad was in assisted living and was forced to take 4 jabs or be kicked out. After his 4th, he got shingles and began swelling in his abdomen, legs, and feet. He progressively worsened until he couldn't breathe and died yesterday. Next, I had a client in my office 2 days ago with terrible vision symptoms and now suffering from clots. Her daughter told me with a worried look, quote, I hope we haven't made a fatal decision by getting her juiced, unquote. When will people learn that they still have a free will to stand up for their personal beliefs? Next, my girlfriend got the juice to keep her job in care. She had arthritis. Since the juice, she gone downhill in a big way. Ironically, she'd been so bad, she'd not been able to work. She going for physio. She got nodes on her fingers, all the bent like a witch, and her foot also giving her pain. Hopefully, she will now stabilize. Next, my granddaughter in Connecticut lost her baby, a late-term pregnancy, day before yesterday. Our family has lost 5 babies from 3 granddaughters since the you-know-what. Yeah, it's like a family annihilator. This is a family annihilator. Next, my dad's friend, 58, male, is a physical therapist in Michigan, USA. He had to take at least 3 to keep his job as they were unwilling to improve any exemptions. He developed brain cancer and isn't expected to see next year. They told him it was a death sentence after discovering it. Tonight someone mentioned to me that a workmate began walking in circles, turning left. They found out he had a stroke. The person then told me the workmate had one earlier this year. I asked, did he have the quack? They work in an industry that's been mandated for it. The person said, I don't know, but I could see the lights come on in their eyes. Next, my sister got the meal deal with all the extras since it has been offered and now diagnosed with diabetic retinopathy, macular degeneration, cataracts, and glaucoma. There's also some kind of inflammation or mass behind one eye. She is 59 years old. She's planning on getting any and all future meal deals still and in complete denial about how unhealthy they are. I feel so sad. Next, so many crazy things, but the cancers are really shocking. These stories you're reading are what I'm seeing daily. I have an exemption from the vax or I would have quit and left nursing. I did get fired already from one hospital which told my beliefs are not bona fide. I was lucky to get another job where they granted my exemption. I have worked through the whole pandemic. I got the original COVID once from my son, not patients, although I'm seeing patients at home with COVID and have not had an unvaccinated COVID since December 2021. They're all vaxxed. One crazy story I've never seen before in my 19 years of nursing, never seen a person lose an arm from a blood clot within 2 weeks of the clot. 80-year-old woman with no cardiac history, not even high blood pressure, got the 3rd vax and left arm, got a clot in her left arm around elbow, blood thinners failed, attempted surgery to clear clot, surgery failed, fingers went black, took the arm above the elbow. Never seen that before. This is just one of many. Next, bedtime. Oh, that's from the owner, Tiago. Next, my friend's mom died recently. Her memorial will be in October. This same friend died tonight. They both had the J's. Perhaps there will be a double memorial. Next, I'm sorry to hear the sad news. Is anyone noticing that the juice boxes are negatively affecting some genetics more than others? Mother, child, cousins, some entire families are getting wiped out. Only the lucky ones surviving. It's very sad. In North America, they're just about to start pushing the next round of juice boxes. Even people I know who had strokes out of the blue aren't able to discern healthy juice and unhealthy juice. It's very sad and far from over. Next, my 35-year-old nephew yesterday passed away suddenly. No illness. He has 2 young boys. We are absolutely devastated. He has had the egg twice. The coroner is performing autopsy. He was super healthy and athletic man. Fiance went to drop off boys at school, came back to find him pale. Next. Hello all, my wife's fitness trainer, mid-50s and top fit. Like all trainers, she had taken the juice. My wife was still talking and joking with her. Only hours later, she died in her sleep. Next. Hello. Last year, my ex-husband went for it. Our daughter had a discussion with him about it. He said, quote, there are so many stories going around, unquote. So he went for his second one. 19 days later, he was dead. Healthy guy, captain of his indoor cricket team, got a sudden heart attack and died instantly. Never had any heart problems. Next. My sister's adopted son's sister died suddenly, dropped dead at the store, 29 years old, with no history of illness. Everyone in their area ate a bunch of carrots because they were led to believe safe, effective, and life-saving. Another senseless death due to carrot reaction. Next, argued like crazy with my first cousin about the bullet. That's what you shoot, ain't it? Wouldn't listen. She had what Dr. Faust recommended. Her non-vitamin C came back with a vengeance. She did not survive. Next, my 39 coworker recently had a stroke, returned to work barely able to function. Now management is looking for reason to fire him after pressuring him to do the dance. Shows up last night unable to speak and gets carted off in an ambulance, likely having another episode. Haven't gotten an update yet. Another victim. Say a prayer for John. It just goes on and on. Next, flight attendant. Had my first passenger die in flight from heart attack a few weeks ago. Perfectly healthy passenger. Cannot believe how many fellow flight attendants and pilots who have drank the Kool-Aid just to fly the international flights. And they are having strokes, heart problems, bleeding problems, weird eye infections, and are not connecting the dots. I get nervous to fly. Passengers are looking more sickly, and I don't want to lose another one in flight. Hours up in a metal tube with probably not 75% of the packs drunk from the sangria. Not feeling so good. Next. What a morning. Friend posted a prayer request for a 33-year-old female healthy cousin with 4 kids who had a heart attack yesterday, now on life support. Sent it to my brother, and then he told me about one of their vendors hired a 39-year-old guy 2 weeks ago, and last Friday, heart attack and now gone, USA. Just goes on and on. I think that's enough story. This is another thing. They're starting to have kind of things going on. React19.org you can check out. They're going to D.C. React 19 family and fellow V injured gathered in Washington, D.C. this week to meet with federal agency representatives and over 30 senators and congresspeople, evenly split between Democrats and Republicans, with the mission of creating change by moving policy that will reduce our suffering. So if people have been injured, you can get involved with that. There's also been a lawsuit against Remdesivir here in California without informed consent. So that's an interesting update. This is an interesting slide because the vax rate correlated with case rate. So you can see global vaccinations and then global hotspots for injuries. This is from the New York Times, 8th of June, 2022. But you can see that Europe seems to have been targeted. I mean, if you look at this, the people who are having a lot of injuries are in Europe. I mean, if this is correct, it's really remarkable. And Australia and some of the Asian countries, Japan, Vietnam. Myocarditis, PSA, there's like an ad now playing in New York if your child has myocarditis. I've never heard of that. 70% of young persons do not recover from myocarditis. So It's a hellscape. Refusing this. And then, I heard that Cass Sunstein has been working for the WHO. So that's a shame. And he's written Ethics of Influence, Government in the Age of Behavioral Science. So you're seeing a lot of behavioral science, I think, was behind a lot of the jabs. Weaponization of conspiracy theories supposedly is happening. This is from Rumble, Pierre Corey. Every day I'm forced to watch the same horror movie about people clamoring for lethal jabs while unaware of the bodies piling up everywhere. Pharma media propaganda and censorship is so powerful that it can lead people to be complicit in their own demise. I already showed that one. They changed their guidance. Wealthy people are asking for unvaccinated crew. I think that's very telling. They don't want people like that. There's the grand jury investigation, criminal grand jury. You can watch a lot of this stuff. I think it's very well worthwhile. I guess there's a criminal complaint against Bill Gates in India. See how that works out. And then hell is empty. The devils are all here. That's 90 minutes, guys. Have you got any questions or anything before I wrap this up? This will not stay on YouTube. And I will take this down right now. You can find it on William Ramsey Investigates. iTunes, podcast addict. Thank you.